But the only thing that I can say is I'm 10 steps ahead of him. Like I'm 10 steps ahead of him in smarts. And I think, that's where he'll get in trouble with, coming straight forward, trying to box me or trying to, think shot for shot. I just, compare myself, with a lot of great fighters, and I can see the holes in his game.
Terrence Crawford has just completely shut down the Boots Ennis hype train with a brutal reality check. Bud claims he's 10 steps ahead and warns that Vergil Ortiz is gonna finish Boots.
If Boots get hurt like he did the last time, Ortiz gonna finish him.
Wow.
So he gotta tighten up his defense.
10 steps behind you, right?
He gotta tighten up his defense.
Well, that's a massive bomb to drop on the young fighter, but Boots Ennis is doing his best to block out the noise. Instead of firing back and chasing the Crawford narrative, Boots is shutting down the hype. When asked if the bad blood could eventually lure Crawford out of retirement, he made it clear his focus is locked squarely on his upcoming opponent, and nothing else is worth discussing until that business is handled.
A bunch of names and just said, are they going to be easy work or not? You said easy work to everybody, including Terrence Crawford. Obviously he's had comments to Gilly about saying, that he tried to make a fight with you. You were too young at the time. That's what your team said. Do you think any of this talk gets to a point where you get him to come out of retirement and face you?
I don't even care about that. I ain't gonna lie. I'm locked in on his eyes. No asking nothing else about nobody else.
Even when pushed on what it would take to actually make the mega fight happen, Boots remains completely non-committal. To him, Bud is currently on the shelf enjoying retired life, meaning any chance of them sharing the ring strictly comes down to whether Crawford ever gets the itch to lace the gloves back up.
He said, why doesn't Terence come out and fight you? Is that a realistic fight that you could see him coming out to fight you?
Oh.
Crawford?
I don't know. He retired, so that's what he's doing right now. He in retirement, he chilling, so we'll see. If he come out, we'll see.
You said you're different than even him or any other fighters, but what is different about Jaron Ennis than a Terrence Crawford or anyone else from that matter, but specifically Terrence?
I'm just different. Y'all know I'm different. Y'all know I'm different. Y'all gonna see on Saturday. The way I just carry myself, the way I fight, just my skills, my ability, defense, everything. Y'all gonna see.
So, what does Bud suggest to Boots in that case? Well, shifting to his read on Boots Ennis, Terrence Bud Crawford doesn't hold back on the holes he sees in the young fighter's game, pointing to defensive lapses and a tendency to get reckless in the pocket as red flags. Bud acknowledges the athletic gifts like his speed, his explosiveness, but suggests that raw talent alone won't cut it once Boots starts facing the level of competition waiting for him at the top.
Yeah, he gotta stop exchanging. I know he's faster than most, he's more explosive than most, but at the same time, he's shown in the past that he can get careless and that he's going out there just to fight, and I don't think when you get higher and higher, that's going to be enough.
The criticism didn't go unanswered. When asked about the certain condemnations aimed at his performance, Jaron Boots Ennis doesn't hesitate to acknowledge the uncharacteristic lulls and lapses in sharpness that crept into his recent outing. He attributes these execution errors to minor habits rather than a fundamental flaw in his skill set, hinting that his upcoming gym return will focus heavily on tightening up his overall game before his next major test inside the squared circle.
You can say that, but it's me having little lazy moments and just not being sharp like how I'm supposed to be. You gotta get out of that habit. Just the little lazy moments, and we're gonna work on that in the gym. And fix those things. We're gonna work on everything. You can't never think you can't get better. Can't get too big headed. I'm gonna go back to working on whatever I need to work on, whether it's a jab, movement, defense, just work on everything. Just get better.
Not everyone saw it that way. Reflecting on Terrence Crawford's cryptic post-fight social media activity, Akoe suggests that the pound-for-pound star was subtly reminding the boxing world about the gap in ring IQ between elite tiers, especially after the public's massive reaction to a recent high-profile win. While Bud later clarified his stance to show support for the rising star's career trajectory, Akoe hints that Crawford remains completely unfazed by the division's new era and the constant fan pressure for a massive passing of the torch showdown.
So, right after the fight, Terrence Crawford put out a cryptic tweet. I forget what it says, but I think it was like, now y'all see, something along the lines. That what I insinuated is there's a difference in levels between him and Boots.
Right.
Then he does an interview kind of cleans it up, but still stands on the square of I'm 10 steps ahead of him. You know, I'm smarter. Felt like people were overhyping the win because everybody, or the majority of people were picking Boots anyway because they felt like Xander wasn't ready. But then also cited that if Boots has half the career that he has, it'd be great, and if he surpasses him, it'd be great, and that it's his era now, and you know he wants him to succeed.
Right.
What's your thoughts on the whole thing entirely, and everybody still clamoring to want to see them fight, even though Bud is going on record, I'm not coming out of retirement to fight?
But that wasn't the only reaction. Shifting to the champion's critical remarks, promoter Okoye admits to being conflicted over the pushback, noting that any elite fighter possesses the natural pride to bite back when fans claim a young pup is coming to take their throne. However, Hackett finds issue with the way the veteran tried to downplay the quality of the opposition to minimize the achievement. He hints that this specific critique feels hypocritical, given the legend's own historical resume, leaving questions about whether it's fair to hold an ascending fighter to a standard the former champion himself wasn't facing at the same stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn on the Bud opinion because what he's supposed to say at the end of the day, you're a fighter. I think all fighters think that you ain't supposed to think you'll get your ass whooped against him, you know what I mean? So I understand him defending himself, like when he was talking to the Gillian Wallow and all that. I think that is because everybody's saying like, yo, this young pup gonna come up and whoop your ass, right? So of course he gonna bite back and shit like that. The problem I had with what he was saying was when he started talking about, like, when you start trying to down the opponent, you know what I mean? Everybody thought he would beat Zayas and so on. And it's not like I didn't think that that's correct. That is correct. I thought he would beat Zayas too. But when you look at Crawford's career, until the end of his career, Crawford hadn't fought anybody that people thought that had a chance against him. You know what I'm saying? That was his biggest criticism, was his strength of opposition. So for him to use that same criticism on an up-and-coming Boots not at the tail end of his career, he's ascending, and he's fighting guys like that, right? So I think that that's the only knock I had, was to try to knock the opponent was my issue.
Building on that point, he emphasizes that a fighter's ultimate conviction to call a matchup easy work is just standard DNA for anyone trading leather at the championship level. He suggests that this supreme confidence is mandatory in the fight game, as stepping into the squared circle without believing you can clean out the rest of the division means you have no business wearing the belt in the first place.
But him going back and forth and saying what he think he can do against the Boots, I get that. You're a fighter. Fighters think like that. I don't think Boots would say. Boots said the same shit. Easy work. You know what I mean? Which, you know, that's just the way fighters are, because they look at it like, you know, at the end of the day, I think I got a good chance against anybody. Otherwise, you don't put the gloves on. If you fight at a championship level, but you don't think you can beat the other champions out there, then you shouldn't be at that level.
Moving on to some other analysts, pushing back on Terrence Crawford's critical post-fight analysis. Johnny Ortiz dismisses the veteran's comments as nothing more than competitive jealousy and blatant hate toward a rising star. Adding to that point, he labels this immense scrutiny surrounding the performance as pure weariness from critics who choose to hyper-focus on a single tough round rather than appreciating a potential Fight of the Year candidate. He argues that the backlash from high-profile figures is driven by competitive envy, hinting that it is unfair to dismiss a spectacular display of leather throwing just because the oddsmaker favorite took care of business in the end.
But I guess Jaron had so much of high expectations and so much of a bitter haterness. What people have is like hate, like jealousy, that they just want to point out the third round instead of the whole fight. And it's definitely, probably action-wise, maybe Fight of the Year. Yeah, it's called hate. Like right now, right? I'm tired of mentioning his name, but I seen Terrence Crawford on the Sean Porter. Is like, oh, well, people hyping it up because he beat Xander. Nobody thought he would beat Xander. That's fucking 98% of his career. The only debatable was Earl Spence and Canelo.
You mean everybody thought that he would beat Xander?
Yeah, like, but to give you credit, I mean, like, I ain't gonna bash because everybody thought you was gonna win all the other fights in your career. Nobody thought it was, oh yeah, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, Ndongo, Hank Lundy, and all that was gonna beat you. You was always a heavy favorite besides in them two fights. So seeing the shed is all that is just, to me, is a little, I think it's competitive jealousy and all that. And yeah, a lot of people just hating, man.
Having that all, turning to a potential blockbuster showdown at 154 pounds, Max Kellerman and Tim Bradley suggest that a clash between the division's top-tier elites would mirror the same high-octane dominance seen in recent performances. They point out that a fighter with that level of twitchy power, relentless aggression, and pure determination makes the light middleweight landscape the absolute most electric division in the sport today. By focusing on the sheer will to win possessed by these fighters, they hint that any upcoming matchup at the weight class is bound to be an absolute war of attrition for the fans.
He gonna cook Ortiz just like he just got done cooking Zayas. Vergil Ortiz, what does he have? That determination and that will?
And Vergil's a little twitchy too for a guy with power.
Yeah.
And aggression. And he got a lot of heart.
I feel like 54 is the best division in boxing.
I agree.
They have the hottest fights in boxing based upon just determination, will to win.
And the matchups.
You gotta kill these dudes to win.
Looking ahead to the journey toward undisputed status, Jaron Boots Ennis and his team emphasize that their ultimate goal is collecting the remaining straps, recalling how they previously traveled deep into enemy territory just to make a statement. While pushing back on claims from rival camps that they haven't earned a marquee showdown, the team notes that they won't let arrogance dictate their next moves as a unified champion. They hint that while a massive legacy fight against another top-tier contender remains highly appealing for the fans, their immediate roadmap is strictly focused on unifying the divisional hardware.
I'm here to be undisputed, breaking these belts, but if we can't get the other guys and Vergil Ortiz available, make it happen.
By the way, we flew to Texas
we went down there on our own
to sit there with no tickets, right?
And it was
No one wanted us there. We didn't have any tickets in the corral. We sat backstage. The zone ended up putting us in the corral. They didn't want us to go in the ring. We found our way to get in the ring. If Vergil Ortiz, who I respect and I like the guy, if he really, he should, where is he?
Right.
I would be crawling here tonight.
Senior said that you guys need to do more to earn a fight with him. Do you think tonight was enough?
Yo.
He said that. Who said that? Vergil Ortiz Sr. said prior to that fight, y'all need to do more to earn a fight with him.
No, that was before tonight.
But do you think tonight was enough?
Listen, we don't need to prove nothing. We don't need to chase the fight.
It was more than enough.
Yeah, okay. But what I'm saying, listen, we're not getting into that. What I'm saying is, listen, and I said this before Boots come in, we are not going to sit there with full of arrogance like some people would right now and say, tough luck Vergil Ortiz, he's the unified world champion, he's a superstar of the sport, get in line and take your 15% for a voluntary defence. That's what some people would say if they were arrogant. What we say is, we love the big fights, but we took that Vergil Ortiz fight, he signed for that fight, right? We took that fight for no belt. We took it for the fans to prove he was the best. Unfortunately for Vergil Ortiz, the team, everybody, Everett, Sean, we did an unbelievable job to land the unified world championship. And now he's the unified world champion. So, sorry Vergil, in a way, we want to be undisputed. But we don't rule out that fight. It's a big fight. But he's about legacy, as he said, it's the legacy tour. It's the IBF and the WBC to win. And that's the plan.
On the other hand, Vergil Ortiz is staying locked in and keeping his tools sharp away from the public eye. Citing recent updates from renowned trainer Robert Garcia, they note that instead of slacking off or letting his weight balloon between camps, his continuous grind in the gym is driven by a desire to answer the heavy predictions floating around the division. They hint that this intense preparation might be the perfect answer to a certain pound-for-pound king's recent claim about how a potential clash inside the squared circle would end.
So we just finished jump roping right now. It's just a part of the warm-up, get the sweat going, get the body warmed up. I'm gonna do some shadow boxing, hit the bags, do some mitts, do some more bags, and that should be it for today.
Reflecting on his son's psychological warfare and grit, Vergil Ortiz Sr. emphasizes that the young fighter possesses a rare, unbreakable mental toughness that was forged through absolute doghouse rules during his early years. He notes that despite enduring intense, grueling training sessions as a kid that would cause most prospects to fold, his son never showed an ounce of quit in his DNA. He hints that this relentless conditioning created an ultra-durable warrior who would genuinely prefer to go out on his shield inside the squared circle rather than ever back down from a fight.
Vergil's always been very mentally, very mentally strong. He's built for that part. Yeah, like I said, as a kid, when he was younger, we used to dog him and training him, and always very, very tough on him to the point, you know, a lot of kids would quit. And, you know, and Vergil wouldn't. He would never quit. And there's no giving up. He will never give up. He's one of those kids that says, you know, in Spanish, they say se muere en la raya. He'll rather go down swinging, and then so mentally, he'll always be fighting.
Well, there you have it. That's where things stand now. Bud's talking. Vergil's training to prove him right. Boots is staying quiet and letting his hands do the work, and the boxing world picking sides. So, we're putting it to you. Is Crawford's critique legit, or is he just protecting his throne? And if Ortiz and Ennis ever share a ring, who's your money on? Sound off in the comments. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and stay tuned. We'll keep you posted as this one develops. Until next time.